Do you have any guests or any big time people coming on your show?
Yeah, I've so I just did a show with Drew at DFB Encounter, and then I got
Yeah, I
Graham
watched it.
Barfield coming on later, and then I have JJ Zachariason coming on in March, and then I think I got Angela Fantasy coming on also in March, and then probably like Jetpack Galileo some point in April, and then a couple of Dynasty Nerds guys coming on in like May or June maybe.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually write for Dynasty Nerds, so it's a fun team over there, man. They do some great
Yeah,
work.
that's where I started, man. I was just a random dude, and Garrett Price asked me if I wanted to write for their site, and I'm
Same.
and I was like, dude, I don't know how to write anything. I don't know anything about anything. And he's like, all right, well, I'll just give it a shot.
How'd you actually get into that? Like, it was just literally just hanging out.
I mean, I was just on Twitter, like shooting the shit, talking shit, poking the bear like I usually do, and
That makes
I
sense.
think Garrett had like something where, he said you like if you donate like something to like one of the Cleveland like youth center or something, and I was just like, hey man, like I'll definitely do the donation, but like no need to like set up a call or anything. He's like, no, let's do a call. So we had a call. Like I didn't really have any questions for my fantasy teams. I was just like, hey, what's up? Like, what do you do? And he's like, hey, do you want to come write for Dynasty? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
You're like, sure, yeah, I'll try it.
No, that's cool as shit. I was actually talking with Garrett Price about offensive line stuff and like his videos and breakdowns. And we were just sitting there talking, and he pretty much extended the same hand. So I love Garrett, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. Just a super cool dude. I think at some point, maybe when COVID's over and all this shit, and people can go back in public and be in the social atmosphere, I'll want to grab a beer with them some point. Maybe even fly down to Cleveland, meet Rich. I think those guys are some interesting guys, and obviously just like OGs in the industry. So always cool to pick their brain.
No, it's amazing, and being able to connect with some of these people too, because we got like Matt Harmon coming on, we got Matt Waldman coming on. Liz Lowe's asked us to reach out and went out a little bit later in March. So we have a whole plan for like the next 2 months of some of these big time personalities coming on. I couldn't be more stoked.
Yeah, it's cool, man. What's cool is like I think a lot of these big personalities, like you mentioned Liz, Matt Harmon, and all these guys. At some point they were like you, right? And like I think it's really cool for them, and like I've experienced now with like Graham Barfield and JJ Zach is like they're like nice enough to kind of just like give you the time of day because like I mean who am I? I'm just a small guy with a random YouTube channel that people tune into every once in a while.
Yep.
And they have like a platform of like hundreds of thousands of people. Matt Harmon's over obviously at a big super big platform. So it's just cool to see like these people taking the time and giving us the time of day. It's nice of them. They don't have to do it, but they do.
It is, man. It is. And
it's
we got some new faces
kind of
in here too.
How many people in the industry are just so willing to just talk to you and help out and help you grow? Just people that, have been so successful. It's cool.
How'd you get into ESPN, by the way, and doing what you do for them?
Yeah, well, I graduated from college in May of 2018 and went to Ithaca College, loved it there. They had a great program for media. I learned a lot, and then was looking for jobs in sports, kind of knowing that that's what I wanted to do. So I kind of just threw in applications places. I was looking all over though. I was throwing in applications at just random places across the country. I was like, somebody just hire me, please. Like, I just want to work in sports. Not really knowing what I was doing either because I was fresh out of college. So then I just threw in an application at ESPN. And I was like, I doubt I'm going to hear from them, but whatever. I was throwing an application anyway. So
She's
then
like, I don't care. I'll work concessions at the local junior high. Okay?
I was like, I'll do anything. I just need to get my foot in the door. So then they actually contacted me a day or two after I applied about doing a phone interview, which I did. And then they brought me in for an in-person interview, which was really intense. There were like 6 different people I interviewed with. They put me in a room and then they would cycle through. One person would come in and ask me questions for like 15 minutes, and then somebody else would come in. And in my head, I was like, how many more questions can they possibly ask? There's like 4 more people I still have to meet with, and I feel like I've exhausted every interview related question that I could think of. So I was not confident at all after the interview. So then I was surprised when they ended up actually offering me a position. But started there in August 2018. So here we are.
That's awesome. It sounds like the combine, maybe a little bit tougher than that. I don't know.
It was hard. I definitely came out of that interview and I was like, I am not confident at all.
All right, let's go ahead and get this episode kicked off, guys. Y'all ready?
I am.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get it.
This is Fantasy Intervention. here to intervene with your fantasy life, Chase Vernon.
What's going on, guys? Come on into another episode of Fantasy Intervention coming at your domes. Ready to get this one kicked off. We got some special guests in the house. Very ready for this episode to be going. We got, of course, Gabby Hurlbut. Is that how you say it, Hurlbut?
That is how you say it. I'm impressed that you said it right the first time. Usually people don't.
I was a little bit nervous on that one. I'm not going to lie. I was sitting there. I was like, am I actually going to say this right? Am I not? I've never actually tried this. This is my first time actually saying it out loud. I'm glad that I nailed it. What's going on, Gabby? How you doing?
Good, not much. People sometimes tend to stick an extra R towards the end before the T, and I'm like, there's no R there. So are you just imagining that that's there? But I'm impressed that you said it right. I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be on the show. It's definitely going to be a good time.
And then, of course, Mike, what's going on? How you doing,
man? Good, man. I'm just out here, just grinding away, trying to put the finishing touches on my rankings, grinding NBA Top Shot. I'm getting no sleep. I've slept like no sleep for like the past week. It's just been crazy. So, yeah, just wasting my time as usual.
Oh, no, it sounds like fun, though. I mean, it sounds like a blast. At least you're wasting your time doing absolutely nothing, but yet still being somewhat productive. So, to the people that do care, of course. And Mike, we'll start out with you. Where can the people find you that do care? That do care about you and care about what you do?
They can find me on Twitter at MikeMeUp with 2 P's, Instagram, same thing. And then most of my, I do mostly video content. I don't really write that much anymore, but all my video content can be found over at the Bunk Bed Breakdowns YouTube channel. So yeah, that's where I'm at for now. And then coming this Friday, I'll have my Patreon launched by later this week, so you can find me there as well. Oh,
that's awesome, man. Congratulations on that.
Cool.
So real quick, I saw that, you guys did a show, and obviously Big Dog's Gotta Eat is it an affiliate of you guys, or are you guys underneath Big Dog's Gotta Eat? How does that work out?
Yeah, so BDGE is a brand built and started by my friend Nick, and we started off putting videos on his channel, but we just started getting too many different brands mixed up. So what happened was like we kind of just split off a couple like underling brands underneath the BDG. So we're still like BDG affiliate. It's just that Bunk Bed Breakdowns is Noah at FB God and myself, and we focus strictly on like Dynasty side. Whereas Nick's channel has like Redraft, has Dynasty, has like his vlogs and his life and all that stuff. So super cool on both ends. Just depends on what you want to do, and you can kind of just pick your avenue. Hopefully you follow all of us, you enjoy all of us, but if you don't, just pick whatever it is you like to see.
No, I absolutely love that, and I'm a big fan of what's going on over there with Nick. I actually kind of just stumbled over what he's doing over there, and it's kind of funny because a lot of the same stuff is what I believe in. With supporting a brand, supporting the brands underneath his brands, building the same way that he's building. Very impressed in what he's done. And, he's somebody that I look up to. Gabby, where can we find you? What's going on with your show? Where's your podcast?
Yeah, sure. So I do have my own podcast called Boston Balling. As you can see, it actually is repped in the back behind me here.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a custom-made banner. So I'm on all social media platforms at Gabby Hurlbut 10 on Twitter, at Gabby_Hurlbut 10 on Instagram. And Boston Balling also is on those platforms as well and has a Facebook page. They're all linked to my personal accounts. And yeah, you can also subscribe to Boston Balling on any podcast streaming platform. It's a pretty new show still. It's a couple months old, but it's been fun. So hopefully people check it out.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Make sure you guys go check out Boston Balling. Oh, man. We got an interesting show lined up. We got some things going on over here with what we want to talk about. And with the new 2021 season kicking off, it's going to be very, very interesting as to where some of these aspects can go, because right now the franchise tag just opened up. Yeah. And we got different types of franchises. There's exclusive, non-exclusive, and then we also have the transition tag. So with the exclusive tag, essentially, just give you guys a heads up for those of you who don't know, we're sitting there and looking at essentially like they're saying, hey, we're going to tag you. There's nobody that can make offers. There's nobody that can come at you. Like, you're ours pretty much at this point. We have the non-exclusive as to where they're saying, hey, we want you. You're going to be on our team essentially. But at the same time, if somebody does make a better offer, we want something back for it. And then you have the transition tag where, hey, we want you, but if somebody makes an offer, we don't want to match it. Unfortunately, we just don't care enough, and you're just going to have to take a hike. It's no big deal, right? So sitting there and looking at different, tags and whatnot, we saw a few of these different players who we're going to bring up again, such as Dak Prescott, possibly get tagged for a second time.
That transition tag, sorry, just to cut you off. That transition tag sounds like the offer that a lot of my exes made me in middle school.
Hey, we want you, but we really don't care about you.
So.
We're good if we want to switch off.
I won't be upset about it.
I got to give a shout out to Mike real quick because he's like, don't tag Aaron Jones. I can't deal with that. And me and him are on the same page. We have this fantasy of Aaron Jones going to so many other places and being in a better system than the system that he's in right now.
That's interesting. Let's talk about that real quick. Sorry to take you off script.
No, go ahead.
Do you guys think there are actually better landing spots than Green Bay for Aaron Jones? I think in my head there's like maybe one that's equal, but I'm here interested to hear like how you and Mike think about it and where you think. I see this all free Aaron Jones movement, so I'm interested to see what you guys think about that.
Let's go ahead and put Aaron Jones in the comments real quick and where you guys would like to see Aaron Jones. The majority of people that are listening already know where I think, but I'm going to and hop because this is actually somewhere where. I was on back in October 2019, and then I got to actually, with my second ever live show with a guest, Garrett Price, and I broke it down. And we talked about the offensive lines and the run zone schemes. So this is perfect. This is absolutely 100% the perfect show to talk about this with. The Packers run a wide zone run scheme, essentially. They're trying to get these big physical backs, the same way that Derrick Henry runs things, on an angle, sprinting out the backfield as fast as they possibly can, hit the edge, and turn upfield. That's what this scheme is built around. That's what they want to accomplish. Back in 2019, we saw Aaron Jones get pulled in quite a few games. And we're like, why is he getting pulled? It wasn't due to fumbles. He wasn't turning the ball over. He wasn't missing blocking assignments. When you go back and you watch the film, and actually Next Gen Stats did an excellent job with this, with the run zone charts. If you see the games where he actually did not get as many snaps in there, he was going back and forth in the backfield instead of cutting upfield, finding the edge, cutting upfield and going. He was trying to find these seams, and that's not what the system is built around. So, with him not having that upper body strength, I still think that he has the agility to succeed in a place like Arizona, where he's going to be able to play off of these seams, be able to find these holes, cut back, and be able to break some big ones off. So although, I think Green Bay is an excellent spot, don't get me wrong. I think that honestly, like they drafted A.J. Dillon for a reason because he fits that scheme. And moving forward, I think that Aaron Jones could absolutely smash over there in Arizona. I still like Miami for him, but I think that Arizona is the best possible landing spot with Chase Edmonds, almost being a very similar profile. Kenyan Drake's the poor man's version of Aaron Jones.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for you.
Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. I love this.
So as a former Kenyan Drake truther, he helped me win one of my first championships ever in my home league, with that massive stretch he had before he went, before he basically became nothing this year. Arizona. I used to think that was a really good landing spot, but like what I've seen more recently is like Cliff just uses him as like a first and second down grinder. Like, when it comes to value at the running back position, we care so much about targets, right? Everyone always says it. A target is worth 2.5 times a carry, and it's true because in PPR formats you get that type of scoring. So how do you see him transitioning to like Arizona, where he like doesn't necessarily get those targets, whereas like on the Packers he doesn't get all the targets, right? You want to see, you wish he could get Alvin Kamara like usage, and he doesn't, but he's like also so good on the ground. He's like so good at just like a one cut explosive back, and Packers score a ton, and he's unstoppable on the goal line, like within 3 yards. Like I don't think there's anyone better than Aaron Jones, even though he's a little bit smaller. So for me, I'm like, I want him to stay on the Packers because I'm like, there's a high scoring team, they have a good offense, everything's going for him, he's still getting the targets. Yeah, he doesn't get the usage we want to see, but I'm just like not sold on Cardinals. Do you believe in Cliff Kingsbury and what he's doing there? And love to hear your thoughts too, Gabby. Like, what do you think about Aaron Jones going?
I'm kind of with you on this when it comes to the Packers, because I wonder if him going somewhere else would mean less involvement and less productivity in the offense, because he's obviously really heavily involved in Green Bay's offense and proves to be a really big asset for them and one of the biggest reasons why they had the season that they did this year. And I just wonder if he goes somewhere else, if he wouldn't really get the same level of involvement or productivity that he gets in Green Bay. And granted, I think there are some other good options. I think Arizona, I could see him there, maybe even the Falcons. But I don't think, in terms of where he's at now and his style of play, he does fit in well in Green Bay. And I'm almost leaning towards being in Green Bay right now might still be the best option for him, just because if you go somewhere else, I mean, I think Miami, like you said earlier, could be another good option for him too. But he's so involved in that Packers offense right now that it'd be kind of hard to see him go somewhere else and not have that same involvement elsewhere that he has right now in Green Bay.
The thing that I'm seeing is the fact that the Arizona Cardinals running backs between Chase Edmonds and Kenyan Drake saw a total of 98 targets this past season.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a massive amount. And honestly, like, Aaron Jones is going to be probably the highest paid running back in the free agents period. So with the Packers, they could franchise tag him, which we're going to go over here in a little bit, but they could franchise tag him. But honestly, like, I just feel like the Arizona Cardinals, they have a little bit of money to spend if they let Kenyan Drake walk. And yeah, I feel like this is a massive spot for Aaron Jones to land, get these targets. Chase Edmonds is going to be in the rearview mirror by this point because he can't stay healthy anyways. And if Aaron Jones can see 98 targets, because he can catch, we saw it back in 2019, he can catch. Let's not even give him full 98 between those two. Let's give him, 70 targets, right? If he can sit there and perform with 70 targets, I mean, you're talking about a massive increase in fantasy points back to the same numbers that he saw back in 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he gets 70 targets, I'm all in. I just don't know if he gets it, just given how Cliff's been using Drake as a 2-down grinder. Like, Drake is actually a pretty damn good receiver too. If we go back to Miami, and like I said, I'm biased because I'm a Kenyan Drake truther, right? And just watching how he's used him has been extremely frustrating. I'll throw this one over to you. But the only spot that I think would be super interesting for Aaron Jones would be like the 49ers. Now, I haven't dug into their cap situation or anything like that, but I think he would fit that scheme like a glove because, he's, like I said, he's just a one-cut, explosive back, and the way Shanahan uses his running backs is perfect for that. Like, there's gonna be a plethora of holes, and he knows how to get people involved in the passing game as well. So that's the only spot where I'm like, if he goes there, I'm sign me up. But other than that, I'm just I'm really concerned about where he goes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, someone did in the comments say, unfortunately, anywhere he goes, I think his product will take a huge dip. And I kind of feel the same way about that too. And that's what I've been saying in conversations I've had with some other people. I just feel like being where he is now, he will get the most productivity if he stays in Green Bay. And I think, unfortunately, no matter where he goes, the usage will just decrease as it is. So I guess that kind of is a matter of, will he go somewhere else, take a decrease in usage, but fit in better? We don't know necessarily, but I do think Green Bay, in terms of being involved and the usage and targets, I think Green Bay still is the best option for him.
I see the comment from Mike Daddy, aka the Podfather's daddy, but he said he needs ATN to go to 49ers, and dude, I'm with you, man. ATN on the 49ers would be great. That's the top landing spot I would have for him. I just don't know if they spend up on draft capital or if they have to spend money, but I mean, those are both great fits for that offense. So that's why I think 49ers are pretty cool. But I mean, I'm interested to see what happens. I love Aaron Jones. I've been a fan of him since his rookie year. So I just want to see him go somewhere. I want to see him get paid. I want to see him win. And, wherever that is, if that's Packers, great. If that's Niners, great. If that's Cardinals and they pay him the bank, that's great. Probably won't win there, but, I just want to see him succeed.
Yeah, I agree. I've always been a big Aaron Jones fan. I like watching him play and everything. So no matter where he goes, hopefully it ends up working out for the best for him, but I could see him still in Green Bay. What if he goes to the Jets?
I think you're muted, Chase, or at least I can't hear you if you're saying something.
Oh yeah, I couldn't hear him either. I saw the what if he goes to
My
the
bad,
Jets.
sorry. There are jets going overhead. I'm not even kidding you. I've been dealing with it all day for the past 3 days because I guess they're prepping for an air show. So I was trying to mute myself because they were going overhead. But
Okay.
I mean, I'm sitting there and looking at playerprofiler.com, and Kenyan Drake actually got a smaller snap share than Aaron Jones did this past year, but it wasn't by much. And if they go and they spend the money on Aaron Jones, I feel like it could increase a little bit. But I did want to address the fact that if Aaron Jones does get the major opportunity in Miami, and they just say, hey, Myles Gaskin, you can't stay healthy enough, very similar to like the Chase Edmonds corollary. Is this something where he could actually be more valuable in Miami over Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, I would like him in Miami way more because I believe in what that team is doing more. I think Cliff Kingsbury is one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL. Like he stinks, to be quite honest with you. So
I don't like Cliff Kingsbury at all. I'm just I like
I would rather have Miami. And we've seen how they use Myles Gaskins there. So Aaron Jones is like 10 times running back he is, and I would much rather have Miami than I would Arizona. I just don't believe in that offense. Is really what it comes down to.
Does anybody want to see him with the Jets? Because we've gotten Jets like 10 times in the comments so far.
I keep seeing the Jets coming up.
Oh, man, I can't do it. I cannot endorse the Jets up until I see what happens.
I mean, the Jets just have so many question marks right now in terms of just everything, really. Their offense and just I think there's just too many question marks there right now for me to fully be able to get behind Aaron Jones going to the Jets and being able to succeed there.
If Jets spend $50 million on a running back, fire everybody.
They could very easily
fire everybody.
They have the space. It just makes sense now. I love it. So let's go ahead and hop into the show sheet because we did get way off track, but I don't mind. I don't mind getting off track on Wednesdays. This is something that we're very used to, especially when people from Dynasty Trades HQ come on the show. Then we don't even have a show sheet. So let's talk about these tags, right? Because the only quarterback that's worth tagging this year is Dak Prescott. I mean, sitting there looking at what happened with Washington and Cousins, with tags on tags on tags, like, is this something where, Prescott is going to see another tag this year? Do they work out a long-term contract? What are the fantasy implications if they don't re-sign him? I love to think outside the box, so I get a different take on this. I'll start out with Gabby. What are you feeling with this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is an unfortunate situation for him, especially because of his injury and not being able to play. And just the what's a show she is. Just not being able to play is just, I think, puts a kind of a damper on this whole situation. I think at this point, he's kind of proven that they should be working with him on a longer term contract. But I just feel like they might not do that because they're hesitant about a lot of things with him still. So I really feel like I could see them tagging him again, which for his sake, I would kind of hope not, because I feel like at this point he's gotten to the point where they should be having a conversation about longer term. But I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to tag him again. And unfortunately, with him being injured this year, I think that kind of just the whole longer term contract option might be more off the table right now, just because he wasn't able to really showcase enough since he wasn't playing.
All right, Mike, how you feeling about this?
Yeah, look, I mean, the rational thought would be they obviously get a long-term deal done with Dak. Like, Dak is at worst a top 8 quarterback, but it's Jerry World, man. You never know with Jerry World. I mean, he signed a running back and an off-ball linebacker before his franchise quarterback, and that's just the fact of life. Like, the handling of Dak Prescott before Deshaun Watson handling, obviously, this was the worst handling of a franchise quarterback that I've ever seen in my short stint. And, obviously Houston was like, hold my beer, watch what we do with Deshaun Watson. But with I don't have a great deal of confidence. If I were to bet, I would say it's a coin flip slightly in the favor of Dak getting signed. But Gabby brought up great points about his injury. I've seen that injury in basketball. Hadn't happened to guys like Gordon Hayward, and it took him a while to get back, and that's why I'm not like all in on Dak, because I don't know how he's going to come back from that type of injury. But if they're smart and they're long-term thinking, like Dak is like 26 or something like that, like you're talking about another 7-8 years, you have to lock this guy down, because we saw what the offense was without Dak. The offense without Dak was like a barely a 50% above average winning team. Like, if they go into it again without Dak, like, they're gonna stink. So
I mean, their defense was horrendous too, so that didn't help anything. But yeah, it's when he was gone because he was injured, it was evident how important he is to that offense. So it kind of is just a little baffling to me that nobody's even talked about or tried to start working through a longer term deal for somebody like him, because he is somebody that has a lot of room to keep growing because he's still so young, like you said. So it's just, unfortunately, with the injury, it just isn't ideal for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, sitting there and looking at it, like, I don't know if Dak is the answer in Dallas. So I have, like I said, a little bit of a different take on this. I would love to see a tag and trade situation. And back early in the season, right after he got injured, they lost to, I believe it was Arizona, and then they lost to Washington and was back-to-back. I said if they don't figure out their offensive line situation, they try and get things right, they're gonna have to try and move off of Dak eventually, possibly because they could acquire Trevor Lawrence. Now that's never gonna happen now. They won too many games. It's out the window.
Yeah.
But it was possible at the time because of the record and everything that was going on, how the offense looked. But with that being said, I still think that Denver, although they have a new management, I still think that Denver would end up paying a really pretty penny for Dak Prescott, along with a few other teams. But Dak in Denver, like, dude, I love that. Like that's a huge turn on for me.
Yeah.
You're sitting there and looking at a great wide receiver corps, just like we saw in Dallas. And I think that Denver, 2 first-round picks is not out of the question, maybe 3.
Yeah, that's a fair take, right? Because there are very few quarterbacks alone that would be the answer. Gabby brought up their defense stunk. Like Zeke was a little bit washed. Their offensive line was just ravaged with injury. So I agree with you that Dak alone isn't the answer. But
he by himself isn't the answer. They can't just sign Dak to a long-term deal and just expect all of their problems to just be resolved like that. But I also do think, though, that if they sign Dak to a longer-term deal, but they also try to fix some of these other issues, he could work there. It's just there's so many other issues with the team right now that stems from more than just the quarterback situation.
Yeah, but the reality is, like, Dallas Cowboys aren't Super Bowl contenders, right? They're not going to be, even with Dak. Even with a couple more years, maybe they get there. But like, as long as Jerry Jones is there, like, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. That's my opinion.
That's
So I think if that's the bar you're holding to, Chase, which sounds like you are, right? Then sign him and trade him. But at the same time, like, I think top end quarterbacks just aren't falling off trees, and you very rarely see a top end quarterback hit the free agency market for that reason. And maybe it's not playing for the win, but maybe they're they gotta play for the playoffs first before thinking about playing for the Super Bowl. So I agree with you. Like, the tag and trade, it can make sense if they get like an absolute haul, but like, with that haul, you're kind of hoping to hit on like a Dak Prescott. So they're kind of stuck in, like, how in Dynasty we say
with that haul, you're hoping to hit on Dak Prescott.
You know how we say, like, in Dynasty, like, never be in purgatory, where you're like in the middle, where you can't win, but you're not bad enough to like get like a good pick. That's kind of where the Dallas Cowboys are, except they kind of stink. They're like a 8th seed team where, like, they maybe one year they'll barely make it in the playoffs and they'll get bounced first round. That's what the Cowboys are. So
dude, it is. You hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that Cowboys fans like want to win every year. There's a motto between Washington football team fans and Cowboys fans have gone on for generations. The Cowboys always said, damn, we should have had him this past year. We would have won if this, and this would have happened, right? Yeah. Every single year you hear that. If Dak Prescott was healthy and the offensive line didn't get hurt, that's just this year's corollary. But when it comes to Washington football team, every single year, oh, man, our team is up and coming. We're going to get him next year. We got him this upcoming year. We just need to hit on this draft, and we got it. We need to draft this person. We need to draft this person. And we got it. We're so close. We're so close. And that is the same exact corollary for every single year for these two teams, right? I mean, there's never a year Washington said, like, oh, we should have had him this year.
Yeah,
that is true. And I do hear that a lot from Washington fans too. Like, yeah, we're so close. Like, we're an up and coming team. We're in such good shape compared to the rest of our division and everything else. So it's always that same narrative with them every year.
Yeah, they're so close, except they don't have a quarterback. So
exactly.
They're that close.
They're
like that close, just missing an important position.
They also need 2 other wide receivers, an offensive line, tight end, essentially for long-term purposes. There's so many different things that they need, and Dallas is in the same boat where they just need too many different things. And it wasn't just one thing that went wrong; it was multiple things. So addressing that is a major piece. So that's why I think that Dak Prescott would actually be happier with another team. And I don't think Dak Prescott wants to re-sign with Cowboys at this point.
If I were him, I wouldn't want to.
No, that's what I'm saying. So we talked about Aaron Jones earlier. We harped on that for a while, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Mixon, they all got extensions. Are you guys thinking that the Packers will actually tag him? Because I don't think there's no way they're actually going to re-sign him, right?
I think they want him, but I mean, he's freaking expensive, and
like $12 million or something.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw Kamara, you just saw Cook, you just saw Mixon, and he's really like kind of on that level of running back and better than Mixon, obviously. So like, if he knows his own value, he's gonna want money, he's gonna want to get paid. So it's kind of hard to see that scenario. Like, maybe they tag him, but I don't know what. Like, I don't understand the defensive ball that much. So like, I don't know if there's other people they need to tag or need to save the tag for. But like, the Packers are better with Aaron Jones. But as we know, like, you can't afford to kind of like go too much in on a running back. And AJ Dillon, it's not like he stinks. Like, you know, he's a serviceable running back, and you put him in there and you give him touches, and he won't do what Aaron Jones gives you.
You hate Dillon, don't you?
I don't hate him. I mean, I would invest in him if I could. I wasn't a fan of him as a prospect, but when he joined the NFL and played a couple games, like, hey, this guy's better than I thought he was. I just don't think he's like, you know, he's Aaron Jones. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the running back position. So from like an NFL team perspective, are you going to pay $15 million for a running back? Like, probably not. I mean, it doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you on that too. I just feel like in terms of productivity and what he brings to the team, obviously it's a big possibility that they might tag him. I mean, it's tough, right? Because Green Bay is just one of those teams that gets so close every year and then just can't get over that hump and go to the Super Bowl and win. So it's a hard situation to be in if you're Green Bay, because he does make them better, like Mike said. So you have to wonder if they will tag him, because you don't want to be spending all of that money on a running back, you know, and I think that if they do tag him, I think that in terms of their situation, it might end up being best for them right now. But it would, if he leaves, if he doesn't end up back in Green Bay, I think that it would be kind of noticeably different in terms of their offense as a whole and the strength of the offense. And I think that they're, as much as, you know, I mean, he's talented, and as much as he fits in with that offense, I think if he doesn't stay there, we'll be able to see that. And I think that because he was so valuable to them, I think that it would be, if in terms of the Packers offense, we might see a little bit of digression from this year if he's gone.
Yeah, they were so close, right? I mean, it's too bad it's a good thing they had a backup quarterback and a backup running back and a backup tight end. For the draft. They definitely didn't need that second wide receiver.
So I actually like draft picks, honestly. But real quick, this person, Inya Gut's son, I don't even know why he said that out loud, but he's sitting there saying you can't tag him, but I'm pretty sure you can tag him, right? Why wouldn't you be able to tag him? I did all the research from it. Like they've gone through it. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I'm 99% sure you can tag him.
I think he's just saying like they don't have maybe they don't have the money to tag him.
It's only like 11 million to tag him, I believe.
If they don't tag him, it's not like they're going to be better off. You know what I mean? It's not going to make them better to not have him on the team.
Yeah. He's saying like cap space wise, like because they have like
I know. I was kind of throwing
they
that.
Still have that. I mean, the cap is a myth. Cap is a myth.
Yeah.
The Saints have proved it year in and year out. The Vikings have proved it year in and year out. The Eagles have tried to prove it year in and year out. They are failing epically right now. Oh my God! I was taking a look at the Eagles' cap situation. Is a mess. It is a nightmare. I don't know how they're going to fix it. The Saints somewhat the same way, but they can still fix it. The Eagles are bad.
The Eagles are in a really tough spot right now.
Oh my! They feel like the Saints. They try like the Vikings, but either way, it's still a myth.
Yeah.
So sitting there and looking at it, let's go ahead and look on to the other side of things with Kenyan Drake. Because we got a Kenyan Drake truther in the room, right? Dude, how fast can you type?
Me?
Oh my God. Mike, like his fury fingers over there. I'm hearing the type in the back. Oh my, that's insane. Like, do you have a words per minute you can type?
I don't know. I haven't measured it in a while, but I'm pretty fast.
Jeez, dude. I'm skipping the AJ Dillon talk. We're going to Kenyan Drake. Is Kenyan Drake a possible tag? If he feels like he's worth more than what he is, type thing. Like, if he might not want to play for this team, I'm trying to make a case for him, to be honest with you, because it's like I don't see where he could be tagged, but I want to bring up another running back that could be. I don't know. It's tough. And I wanted to bring up the fact that outside of Budda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, DJ Humphries, no other player finished better than 25th at their positions. So they're going to have to upgrade multiple different positions, according to PFF. And I know you love PFF, by the way. So.
PFF, when it comes to NFL, is great. I mean, their data is good. I mean, their grading has some stickiness. It's just their college stuff is not ideal.
Okay. So sitting there and looking at it, they're going to have to upgrade other positions. Maybe they apply a franchise tag because they they really don't have anybody else to apply it to. You know, is Kenyan Drake a candidate to be franchise tagged over there?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, their team stinks, man. Like, I don't know how many times I said, like, their offense is like pretty stale. Like, with Kyler Murray, just if he's not like magical that day, their offense is totally stagnant. So, and they're not really competing. So, I mean, maybe last year they were kind of like coming off that hype. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm first year coach. I'm going to my second year. I'm gonna take this team the distance, and you know, they wanted to add that last piece. But I think, you know, last year they kind of really got exposed, and it would be pretty irresponsible, I think, to like tag someone like a Kenyan Drake versus just like, I don't know, going in the draft and draft someone on day 2, like late day 2, and it costs you like, you know, a few $100,000 and sub $1 million, right? So I think it just doesn't make too much sense for Kenyan Drake to stay there either.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess they could tag him because, like you said there earlier, there's not really anybody else that they could really use a franchise tag on at this point. So technically, maybe they will just for that reason alone. But logically, I don't think it would make sense to do it. And I think that they should be resorting to the draft at this point and just focusing more of their energy there. And I don't think that this is a team that I could see him really wanting to stay at really either. So I feel like logically, it wouldn't make much sense to tag him, but they could because there's not really anywhere else that they would use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they have to use it, brought up by, you know, once again, and you got son. So I'm just going to say it as fast as I can so I don't actually have to, you know, say it out loud. But obviously, we're not a family-run podcast, but I don't want to read that out loud over and over again. Anyways, we're going to move on to the wide receiver position just because I was trying to make something out of nothing. But the reality is like the wide receivers and the tight ends are what we're interested with the franchise tags. So with that being said, before we get started, I want you guys to tell me who the second most yards were or second most receiving yards were had by a wide receiver. That's going to be a free agent come 2021.
Like on the season or
on the season,
like, yeah. I don't know, probably Rob.
No, I believe A-Rob was number 1. Who was number 2?
This is a good question.
It's kind of a shocker. Not completely
Fuller?
shocking, but no, it's not Fuller. Fuller was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, then I don't know. Maybe because Godwin was hurt.
I was going to say it can't be Chris Godwin.
Because Godwin was hurt.
Yeah.
Was it Corey Davis?
It was Corey Davis. You got it.
Wow.
It was Corey Davis.
He had a
That's
good
an
year.
interesting one.
He had a very good year. It was almost Devontae Parker-esque.
Mhm.
You know? So,
Yeah.
oh, man. But sitting there and looking at it, you know, let's go ahead and start out with the stud, who I think is the stud of this wide receiver class. And you guys can disagree with me if you want. Please make sure
I
it's
heard
no.
you were looking for a stud. Sorry. You weren't talking about me.
Mike's in!
Hello.
Yes!
What's
Okay.
up, y'all? How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man.
All right.
I was missing you, Mike. I was missing you.
That's
So-
what I heard, so I figured I'd stop by.
So those of you who don't know Mike started out this whole Wednesday thing with me. This is where this became the party. This was the place to go. These were the things to do. And Mike and I, you know, built up these Wednesday shows, had a blast with it. But obviously in the offseason, there's not much to talk about. So, you know, when we sit there and we look at it moving forward with our shows, of course, Mike is going to be back next season, hopefully, with our fingers crossed. But, you know, we love to have guests on. We love to have these fillers on to make sure that our Wednesdays are just going, you know, dandy. Of course. But I'm glad that you came back, Mike, for this show. Let's go ahead and talk about wide receivers and the franchise tag, some of these wide receivers who could get tagged, because we have Chris Godwin, who's my 101 of this free agent class. Do any of you guys disagree that this is the best wide receiver that could get tagged of this 2021 free agent class?
For fantasy or like real life?
Let's go fantasy.
For fantasy, yeah. For real life, I think A-Rob's better.
Mike,
Yeah.
how you feeling? Oh, Gabby, go ahead.
No, nothing. No, I was just saying I think I can agree with that, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that realistically, when you're looking at real life, even a healthy Kenny Gallaudet, I see that getting called out in the chat as well. I think you really have 3 uber talented wideouts at this point. I think Allen Robinson, when you're talking about someone that I would want for my team, someone who's bankable, I think he's the play over Godwin. For fantasy, though, no question, Godwin's the 101.
No, I think obviously like Godwin could end up with so many different landing spots, so it would actually make him valid if he's not tagged. But I mean, what is it? 7 like starters are going to be free agents for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're kind of up against the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, sitting there and looking at it, like mic me up. Like, is there a certain player that you're looking at that could have the chance of getting franchised, or that should be tagged over Chris Godwin for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or is he almost a lock to get tagged if he does not re-sign a long-term contract?
I mean, I feel like Godwin is the one that you would want, right? I mean, he's like a pretty critical part of the offense, and I think the Tampa Bay offense is honestly like pretty underrated. I thought they were going to be really good this year, but it's like the first year with Brady, and yeah, I understand they won the Super Bowl and all that, but like Evans was battling hamstring injuries all year, like Godwin battling like hand injuries. Like they were never really like fully on sync until they kind of hit the playoffs, and Godwin I think is a big part of that offense. Bruce Arians, I mean, probably when he was drunk and the Super Bowl party came out and said that he's not going anywhere. So who knows how much we can put behind that. But I do think like Godwin, given his age, given his youth, like maybe they tag him for this year because who knows how many years Tom Brady has left, right? I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of keep that offense intact and roll into year 2 versus trying to go in there with just Evans, Gronkowski, and Antonio Brown.
Wait, you forgot about Tyler Johnson. Come on. No,
oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Tyler Johnson.
I'm not a big fan of Tyler Johnson, to be honest. So I got your back on that.
I'm kind of on that train too, because it's hard when players get injured, because it's you have a hard time really understanding what their role is within the offense, or if they're a key part of the offense. And when he came back and was playing in their Super Bowl run, he did prove to be a really crucial part of that offense. And what you were saying before about Tom Brady's time left being indefinite, I guess you never know when it's Tom Brady. It's every year that we think he's leaving, he comes back for like another 5. But I think realistically, probably like 2 years maybe for him. So if you are thinking in terms of the next couple of years, I don't really see them, or at least it wouldn't be wise of them, I don't think, to let him go right now just because he's so young. So he still has a lot of potential for growth. And with the offense, I mean, they just won the Super Bowl with that offense. So you have to feel like during Tom Brady's time there still, if they want to go for another championship, I don't think that's the type of player that you would want to let go, at least for right now. And just kind of, I understand not wanting to commit to him long term right now, but I do think that if you want to take advantage of what you have in front of you right now, especially while you still have Brady, I think that he's somebody that it would kind of be foolish of them to not tag him, I don't think.
All right, Daddy Son, what's up, man? How you feeling about this?
No, I don't think they're tagging him. And to be quite honest, I don't think that Godwin is necessarily the greatest fit for what Brady does well anyway. When you look at what Brady has thrived on over the course of his career, receivers like Godwin can tend to frustrate him a little bit. So I think there's definitely a possibility that, they made it work with Godwin, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he was the best fit for that offense. I think this team has a lot of needs, and to be quite honest, I think that they legitimately won the Super Bowl on defense. Brady played well. He played efficient. But it was the defensive side of the ball that you really want to keep together. And that's where I think Godwin moves on. Not to mention, I think Godwin is looking to be a number 1 and won't be with Evans. So when you look at what Godwin wants to, I would think a team like Indianapolis would really be like the perfect fit for Godwin. That's where I think he belongs. That's where I think he goes. That would be heaven for me. I know that we can all crap on Wentz all you want, but give me Frank Reich's offense. Give me Chris Godwin. They just gave up premium picks, no matter what Twitter wants to tell you. These are still big picks they gave up for Carson Wentz. And you think they're going to just give up Michael Pittman? Come on now. And I think Godwin is the one in that offense is killer. That's what I'm looking for more than anything else. And I just don't think that Tampa's going to have the luxury to really go out and tag a wide receiver and put that price tag on them when they do have capable players. Let's face it, it's not like they have nothing, on the table right there. You're still talking about a fair amount of pass catchers on that team, some young talent, and let's be fair also, this draft is chock full of wide receivers. So I don't think necessarily that's where the dollars have to go for this team. And if I'm the Tampa Bay Bucks, I'm letting them walk.
Dude,
Who's you said he's not a great fit for Brady. Like, what specifically about it is that makes him not great?
So the thing for me with Godwin is I don't think he's that like kind of tactician. Like you see a lot of frustration where his routes aren't as precise as what a Brady wide receiver looks for. I see in the comments about his hands. Come on, his hands are fine, but let's not talk about like that. This is a guy who's going up and catching absolutely everything. And when he was looking at who he was trusting, when you were looking at those money throws that Brady was looking for, he was going to Mike Evans and he was going to Rob Gronkowski. Like having followed Brady his whole career, you know, as you can tell from the accent, Mike, you know where I'm from. This is what he looks for. Like Godwin's not the Edelman type, those anticipation throws where you know the route is going to be perfect. You know the cuts are going to be right where they need to be. That's what Brady thrives on. He doesn't thrive on these deep ball players. He doesn't thrive on these folks that can improvise, right? Like a Pat Mahomes is always looking for improvisation because he's extending the play. Brady's looking at 3 to 5 steps, know exactly where you are. Don't round it. Don't take an extra yard because he's looking to get rid of the ball because his legs don't allow him to extend the play. Godwin, to me, has never been that player. He's never been that tactician. And actually, the name that we mentioned earlier as a better NFL player, and I think would be a better fit if you're going to spend the money, is Allen Robinson. I think he's a better fit for what Brady does. But to be quite honest, what he has right now in Evans and Brown, I think carries Brady for the next 2 years. And that's probably all we have with them.
Yeah, I mean, no arguments for me on Evans. I mean, I love Evans. I've always been a Mike Evans truther, despite everyone hating on him. But do you think the timing stuff? So I'm gonna trust you on the film stuff because I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm some film guy because I'm not. But do you think that has to do with them being in the first year in a system? Because like, I mean, just from my very novice eyes, I felt like Godwin was someone that was really good at getting separation. You know, in his first couple of years, and he developed quite a bit.
I want to interject real quick because of the fact that Mike actually brought up a great point that I've actually never considered, but yet still understood, is the fact that Jason normally relied on plays breaking down, essentially, or not necessarily timing routes, but just being open with his eyes. And that's been something that Jameis Winston's always relied on, which is why Chris Godwin always showed significant, upticks in production, is because of the fact that his athleticism allowed him to create separation, not because of his route running. So although I've not, watched Chris Godwin's route running necessarily, because I haven't had to, because his athleticism has beat, defenders time and time again. It makes perfect sense because Tom Brady has always ignored athleticism outside of Randy Moss and always given the open, or the timing receivers a chance. So it does make sense. I'm not saying that that's locked in as my take, but I can understand where you're coming from 100%. And you've showed me multiple things with the Patriots that blew my mind in the past, and I was like, "No, that's not true. That can't be right." And then all of a sudden, you literally showed me on the film, and I'm like, "Holy shit! Like that's right. Like that's right. Where did this come from? Like I didn't understand it." So that's a great take.
Yeah. So I think, Mike, to your point, though, you're right. Does he show separation? 100%. He absolutely shows separation. That's not what Brady, as Chase points to, that's not what Brady looks for. He looks for a guy who's going to get to this exact spot at this time. There can even be a cornerback right on his shoulder. It doesn't matter because that ball's going onto this outside shoulder. The throw's going where it's going to go. So Godwin and create separation, even if that takes him slightly off of the route, even that it takes him slightly deep, slightly rounded. We look at that in cut. Brady's looking for you to be on a 7-yard in cut. If you create separation by going 9 yards, that ball is going to look off. And nothing makes Brady more furious than him looking like his accuracy is off because you went deep with it. Because to get that separation, you cut a little wider, you leaned a little further out. I think that's what Godwin does. And for a quarterback like Wentz, and to Chase's point, for a quarterback like Winston, that's gold, because what they're looking for is that what you're seeing, that distance between the cornerbacks. I'm going to throw it now. Brady's literally looking off his receiver, turning and putting the ball where it belongs. and you better be there. He's not reading that separation because he doesn't have that type of athleticism to make it happen.
That's a good point. So my N'Keal Harry shares would probably agree with you on that one.
Hey, Gabby, real quick, do you have any take on this? Because I know you're a huge Boss fan with Brady.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think Tampa Bay has enough weapons over there that they can go back to the Super Bowl without Chris Godwin. I don't necessarily think that he's very much needed or crucial if they want to go back to the Super Bowl, because there's enough targets for Brady to utilize over there. And I also agree with the point, just from watching Brady throughout his career, that he always has his specific targets that he knows he can rely on and go to. And that's why even in New England, we always saw him targeting the same people, because it was only the people that he knew he could rely on to be there and be clutch, because he was always making these long clutch throws to Gronk or even Edelman, because he knew that those players were going to be right where he needed them to be at that time. So you saw a lot of other players in the offense that weren't as involved, because with the way that Brady plays, he keens in on a certain couple players that he knows he can rely on every time and will be there. And when he targets them, he knows they'll be on point to be right there. So I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. And I think if they don't decide to tag Godwin, I don't think it would hurt them necessarily either way. I think that they could still go back to the Super Bowl even and make another run without him. And I think obviously with the way Brady plays, it might not make the most sense just right now, because he seems to have developed his sense of, his chemistry and the players that he wants to primarily target. And we even saw it in the playoffs this year that Brady was only trying to target certain players. And I think that's why, the 2 touchdown passes to Gronk, who's been his biggest target his whole career. And then you have other players. I think Mike Evans is kind of more somebody that Brady sees fitting in with that scheme. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't tag him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they decide to. I think it really could go either way.
All right, so let's go ahead and hop on to the next player, because we have Allen Robinson on deck. And we've already brought up Allen Robinson and how, Mike over there thinks that, he's probably better than Chris Godwin. I know Daddy's Home likes Allen Robinson, is better fit. I know that Gabby, loves Allen Robinson as well from what I've heard. But, is he going to play on a franchise tag? That's what I want to know. We'll start out with Daddy's Home with this one. Is he going to play if he gets tagged?
He's going to get tagged, and he's not going to play. I just don't see it happening. Allen Robinson has a plan to go wherever Deshaun Watson goes. I am 100% bought in on this conspiracy theory. That's where my head's at, be it the Jets. The only team realistically I could see Deshaun Watson going to that Allen Robinson doesn't end up in is potentially Carolina, just because the need isn't necessarily there for another player on the outside. But give me Allen Robinson in the Dolphins jersey if he ends up there, or Chase, you've been hearing me call Deshaun Watson to the Jets for about 2 months now. I think Allen Robinson and Denzel Mims and potentially bringing back Crowder makes for a really nice offense. The Jets could actually be a team to watch. But I think that's his plan, and I think that he will use whatever leverage necessary to make that a reality. So to be clear, I think he's going to be playing with Deshaun Watson. And let's just be honest, there's a 0% chance Deshaun Watson ends up on the Bears. So I think there's a 0% chance that Allen Robinson lines up for the Bears next year too. But I do believe they are going to at least threaten with the tag with Allen Robinson. I don't think they're just going to let him walk free.
Gabby, what you got?
I agree with that completely. I think that they are going to try to tag him, and he's going to be like, no. And the whole playing with Deshaun Watson thing, that'd be crazy if they both ended up on the Jets, but it would almost kind of weirdly make sense for him to go there if Deshaun Watson goes there. And I do agree with you, though. I think that if I'm the Bears, I'm not just letting him walk for free. I'm going to at least try to get something or tag him, but he's not going to play for them and settle for a franchise tag. Absolutely not, I don't think.
All right, Mike, what you got?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Look, I just want to see Allen Robinson get like one competent quarterback in his career. I think that would be awesome. Like I'm with Mike. Like I would like to see him go, honestly, like almost anywhere. I mean, I'll even take a shitty Drew Lock at this point just to see what happens in Denver. Like I will take that, just see what happens. But I just want to see him get a quarter. I do think they are gonna tag him though, because they're I don't know if their teams are just like in a spot to like sign another long-term extension for.
No, but will he play on a tag?
I feel like not. I really don't think so.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's always hard to say like how these players like value money or not. I mean, maybe he'll like hold out for a little bit, but will he hold out like a whole season? Like who the hell knows, man. These guys only have a certain amount of time to kind of play in the NFL. They have a certain amount of time to like make the dollars to support them, and like I'm sure their extended family like forever. So I never want to overlook the money. So if he gets paid, like he'll probably be pissed about it, and he'll probably not be happy about it. But I don't see him like sitting out an entire season because of it, to be honest.
All right, so a player that I have actually over Allen Robinson is Kenny Gallaudet. And I know everybody's going to disagree with that, but I love Kenny Gallaudet. Love him. He's supposed to be a superstar, but he hasn't produced to that point, because he's been injured the whole time. So let's go ahead and bring up Kenny Gallaudet. We'll start out with Mike down below. Are you sitting there looking at Kenny Gallaudet as a potential asset in fantasy, or are you just done with him?
No, he's a great player. I mean, he's a great wide receiver. He's produced, at a high level. Given how young he was, but how inexperienced he was in the league. I think he's a great receiver. I think he's an alpha receiver. I think it'd be great to have him, on a team that kind of like needs a deep threat, right? I mean, a lot of teams need it. Like Miami needs one. Like Colts obviously need a top end wide receiver. Like there's a lot of teams that need someone with Kenny Galladay's skill set. Now, where would we like him for fantasy? Obviously, I thought Stafford was like the best fit for him, just because Stafford is a very YOLO thrower of the ball, and Kenny Galladay is a great contested catch, deep threat. Now, does he get reunited with Matt Stafford? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of teams that really need that deep threat alpha receiver, though. So there's a lot of spots that he could go, and I think he's an asset. I think he's a great valuable asset as well.
I love Kenny Galladay, but like, I mean, sitting there looking at it, is he just a deep threat or is he an alpha?
No, he's an alpha. But I think he's an alpha that offers that deep threat ability.
Okay, cool.
So I'm not saying he's just a deep ball specialist. He's not like a Marquise Brown or anything like that. But I think he's got the prototype size. He can take on the team's opposing top cornerback. He can win contested catch. He can win in the red zone. So he kind of has like all the tools you would want, right? Of like a potential X wide receiver. So I kind of think of him like how I thought of Alshon Jeffrey, like back in his prime, before he had like glass for legs and his hamstrings were tearing like every other week. I thought
you're killing me right now because he's already started that path.
I thought Alshon Jeffrey was really, really good. I mean, Kenny Galladay, what was it? He was like dealing with back injuries, right? It wasn't like soft tissue stuff. So like when Alshon Jeffrey started going down the barrel, like it was like a hamstring injury, a groin injury, like every other week, and those things just never ever go away. So I'm kind of glad that Kenny Galladay either faked his injury, whatever he did, to just not play the season and rest up, because I think he could be that type of receiver, like that type of receiver that is alpha, that gives you the downfield threat, that can take on the opposing team's DB and still win, and gives your quarterback a lot of options. So I'm a big fan of Kenny Galladay.
I need to agree with Dennis right here real quick, like just to break this up. Mike is a completely different animal. Mike is a completely different animal than what he was when he first started. Shaking the magic 8 ball while he wasn't, and doing the stuff. And Mike's actually been a major impact on this fantasy community. So I'll make sure you guys go check him out at Daddy's Home FF. He's been an amazing part of the community for real. All right.
Appreciate it, man.
So, real quick, Gabby, how you feeling? What's your take on Kenny Gallaudet?
Yeah, I like him a lot as a player, and I think, he's going to be an asset wherever he goes. I really think that just with his skill set, there's so many teams that he can go to and really contribute and be an important factor in an offense. So I think that leaves a lot of possibilities for him. Now, where he might want to go could be a little bit different, but I think if he's on a team, with a good quarterback that he can provide a lot of productivity. I think no matter what team he ends up with, he's going to be a valuable asset to that team. I can't think of a single team that wouldn't love to have his skill set in their offense right now. So I think that there's a lot of flexibility there when it comes to him, and I think the door is kind of wide open in terms of where we see him go. But I think there's a lot of options right now, and I think that's a good situation for him to be in, because really any team could use a wide receiver like that.
All right, let's go ahead and hop on to the next.
Oh, hey.
I know. Let's go. Give it to me. I know.
He has to go back to Detroit, man. They don't have any other options.
I know. He has to go back.
He's got to go back to Detroit. The best fit for him is the team that has no one else to throw the damn ball to. Stay where you are, Kenny. Stay home, please.
But is Goff the right quarterback for him? And
Goff has supported multiple wide receiver ones. As much as we want to shit on Goff, let's be quite honest. He has supported 2 wide receiver ones. He's supported tight ends. Trash him all you want. He feeds his wide receivers. I mean, Robert Woods made a name for himself with Jared Goff, and Kenny Gallaudet is a better player than Robert Woods.
All right, so let's move on to the last person that I wanted to include in this is Will Fuller. Will Fuller is an interesting take. I think he's an athletic player. I think they could definitely make it, and he was my biggest buy of this past offseason. However, what is it, steroids? Geez, come on, dude. Get your shit together. So, Daddy's home. We're going to start out with you real quick.
All right, so who can get him clean piss quickest? Because if he's not on steroids, he can't stay on the field. Right. So I need someone who can mask a drug test for this man, because it's either steroids or hamstrings. That's your only choice. Let's face it, the community is clamoring for something that's flat out never going to happen, which is the Packers. It's just not going to happen. So please stop. But every team we mentioned, Gabby talked about it, Mike talked about it. Any team that needs a deep threat, any team that's in need of that home run hitter, Will Fuller is one of the best at it when he's on the field. He's one of the best guys that can turn in one of those old school D-Jacks box scores. 3 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's what he is. But let's face it, even when he got suspended for steroids, he still played more games this year than I expected him to. So we can't be that mad that he was doing drugs. It extended his season.
Whatever drugs they were giving Will Fuller, give that to everybody. Because any drug that keeps Will Fuller on the field, I think everybody needs
It's magic. It is magic.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear the noise about the Packers. That I just don't. They have never invested in wide receivers. Why are they going to start now? But literally every team that needs a deep threat could use Will Fuller. That's probably about 20 teams, and hopefully you get 10 games out of him. Good luck. He will not be on any of my rosters. Never has been, never will be, because I make the playoffs and he doesn't. So
this is the first year he's on my teams, but is he going to get tagged this year by the Texans?
I mean, I guess they could. They don't even have a roster, do they? Are they?
They got a high school roster. Their roster's made of high school players.
Yeah. It's true though.
One-star prospects.
I would hope not. I guess it's possible, but
that would be really sad for him, actually. But
from the AFF, actually, he turned into the Texans.
I mean, you're not gonna look at a player like Will Fuller if you're a lot of teams and be like, oh, we don't need him on our team. We don't need that skill set. You know what I mean? There's plenty of teams out there that could really benefit from somebody like Will Fuller. So there's plenty of good options out there, I feel like. So I just hope he ends up somewhere that's, that is worth his talent. That's not will happen just because there are so many that could use somebody like him. But well, I guess we'll see.
Mike, what you got on this?
Look, a lot of Will Fuller slander on these streets tonight. Which
I love Will Fuller, by the way.
I'm just going to put it right. I love Will Fuller, personally. I thought him and Watson. Will Fuller, when healthy with Watson, probably one of the most lethal combos in the NFL. Going back to their rookie year. And this year, what were we concerned about? Can Will Fuller ever be the wide receiver one? Can he handle number one duties? And, with the scrap heap of wide receivers and a scrap team, like Will Fuller absolutely stepped up to the plate, and he was an alpha wide receiver. And, I joked about like giving him the drugs to let him stay on the field. Like I wasn't joking. I think, if someone
joked, but I wasn't joking.
If someone can actually keep Will Fuller on the field, like whatever that drug is, hey, it's doing something right. And I want more Will Fuller in my life. To Mike's point, when you draft Will Fuller, do you ever expect a full season from him? No. And I've never drafted him with that expectation. This past year, I drafted him a lot because, for the first time, he was going to get the opportunity to step up and be that alpha. And I was a big fan of him coming out of college as well. And he's made of glass, and you're not going to get that many games from him. But the way I play wide receiver is this, right? I don't really care that much if they complete a full 16-game season. I care about the boom that they have when I start them. And from that perspective, nobody really booms harder than Will Fuller. If we remember back to his 5 TD game from a year ago. So I'm a big fan of Will Fuller. Depending on what his price is, I haven't looked at what his price is currently based on ADP. But if you can get him for a second round pick, hey, why not? If you're a championship contending roster, when he's healthy, put him in there. Just know that you're not going to have him for the full season and have your expectations in line and build your roster respectively. And I think you'll be fine.
Hold on. So, Mike, just curious, because I hurt your feelings about Will Fuller, is that why you talk trash about Brandon Cooks? Are you trying to hurt me back? Because you did, buddy. You hit me right here.
Look, that was a shrapnel that just kind of fired off. I wasn't thinking about it. I don't disrespect Brandon Cook. Of all the people that do disrespect Brandon Cook and call him a bum, I don't, because what I see is someone that has 5 1,000-yard seasons with 3 or 4 different teams since stepping in the league, and a top end producer in college. I think Brandon Cooks is also a great stash for a contending team. Throw out that late second round pick. I bet you could grab him for a late second. Maybe he's not going to have the value for you 1 or 2 years down the line, but we're trying to win championships here, right? Not just collect value. So guys like Will Fuller, guys like Brandon Cooks, they're viewed as that deep threat that can't do anything else. I think that's really selling them short, because we've seen them both do it now. Cooks with the Rams and now with the Texans, and we've seen Fuller do it with the Texans as well.
Dude, I mean, in week to week, that's the key, is to decide which weeks you want to play him. But I just looked up what the Hulk took in order to become, elite, and it's called monkey dust. So I'm pretty sure that's what Will Fuller's been taking, monkey dust. So,
get him more of it. Get him a vial. I've seen the program. I know how this works. Put that in the
dust. If it's working, then
give him more.
Oh man, I love it.
Hey man, ship some of that my way. I got back pains these days.
You'll never get monkey dust.
Okay, so here's our new plan. What I need to have happen is I need Will Fuller to the Vikings. I need him to bring his monkey dust to Dalvin Cook, and we will have your wide receiver 1 and running back 1 on the same team. They will explode like you've never seen in life. Kirk Cousins all of a sudden makes the Hall of Fame. It'll be the best offense ever.
It'd be crazy.
Unless you get Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is the only one that could keep a wide receiver core of Adam Thielen, Will Fuller, and Justin Jefferson, and still have Kirk Cousins pass for sub 4,500 yards. Guarantee it.
Jeez.
I guarantee it.
Dude, every year I try to look at the wide receivers. I'm like, okay, this wide receiver's going to get over 1,000. This wide receiver's going to get over 1,000. Let's go ahead and bank on this quarterback. And then it's Kirk Cousins. And it's like, okay, I can't bank on this quarterback.
I think my favorite thing from the offseason, I was literally crying because you know me, I like to follow people just to make fun of people because I get bored with my life. And I was watching the projections for the Rams, and I'm killing myself laughing because I see these analysts, and I'm pretty good with math, at least addition, right? And I'm like, hold on. So Robert Woods, 1,400 yards. Bobby Trees, wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp, the best slot receiver in history. He's getting 1,700 yards. Tyler Higbee, top 5 tight end. Jared Goff, probably 2,800 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm like, huh? Hold on. I did the math. And somehow you have Jared Goff as quarterback 27.
That's one of Vegas pet peeves.
13. That's my favorite when they just don't add it up. I'm like, guys, if Ruggs is going to be a wide receiver 1 in Vegas, and so is everybody else, and Waller is going to be this best tight end, guess what? Derek Carr doesn't suck this year in fantasy. That's how math works. But it was hilarious because it never adds up. I'm like, hold on, you have 7 wide receiver 1s on the Rams. Jared Goff, no, I'm not drafting him.
Yeah, I think think, that happens when you get like disjointed like rankings, so to speak. And, I'll say that, I'll play devil's advocate here. And, the cautionary tale of doing something like that is it could be the other way, where like you're probably valuing the players like way too high. Like if we think back to Eli Manning, I remember the Eli Manning days and everyone's trying to tell me, yo, Eli Manning's be QB1 because look at OBJ. He's a top 5 wide receiver. Look at Evan Ingram. He's a top 5 tight end. Look at Saquon Barkley. He's a top 3 running back. I'm like, hey, well, one of those guys is going to disappoint because I can tell you right now, Eli Manning freaking stinks. So,
exactly. and that's the thing. I just take one or the other. Because Eli was the same way. Remember, they were talking about, while we talk about Will Fuller, we might as well bring up Hakeem Nicks while we're here because that'll be fun. We were talking about the flexible Hakeem Nicks teams. And Eli Manning was going to go crazy because they were both going to go for 2,000. And Hakeem Nicks played 4 games, and Plexico shot himself in the leg. But I digress. But no, that's the thing. Like, I don't care if you hate Jared Goff, but then you can't have these wildly inflated ideas unless somehow you think John Wolford's coming in and throwing for 3,000. I didn't see that prediction personally on anyone's rankings, but at some point we have to realize that you're right. Don't hedge. Like, make your decision. And I agree with you, Mike. If we went with that monkey dust in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is going to ruin that plan. And that would be our problem because he does have to play on the road at some point. The man can't pass outside of Minnesota. As Chase knows, my favorite stat. So yeah, Kirk Cousins would ruin it for us, but going into the season somehow they'd have Jefferson and Fuller getting 1,700 yards and Kirk Cousins throwing for 2,800. And I'm still trying to figure out how many running back pass options you have in that offense that you think can make those numbers work.
Oh man,
my rant. Sorry, I get me. I go.
I love your rants, man. I love them. They take an extra hour of the show, but I love them every single time.
This keeps me from going to bed too early.
No, so we're 11 minutes over, so let's go ahead and fly through these next picks, unless you guys want to talk about a specific one. I'm here all night, by the way. I'm good to stay all night. If you guys want to keep staying, cool deal. If not, no big deal.
I gotta hop in a bit, but yeah, let's run through these ones.
Let's run through these wide receivers because, we talked about Corey Davis, how he was the second leading receiver for the free agent class. Is he going to get tagged or no? Gabby, what you got? Gabby, start out.
No, I think no. And I wouldn't be tagging him if I were them either. I think that this is one of those situations where he doesn't necessarily need to be tagged from their perspective. So I'm definitely leaning towards no on this one.
All right, Mike.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep my responses more brief now.
No, you're good. You're good.
I think they might, but like the only thing keeping them from doing it is that like that buyer's remorse. We're like, oh damn, we could have like extended him for cheaper, and now we got to freaking tag this guy because he blew up after we rejected him. So that psychological factor is always there. But I think it's a good fit. I mean, he's not going to be a wide receiver 1. He's a nice wide receiver 2 that supplements a wide receiver 1. AJ Brown, he knows the system, and they do need someone else there. But yeah, it's like I feel like it's a good enough fit, but he could also go somewhere else and be a wide receiver 2. So who knows what they do.
All right, Mike or Daddy's home.
Yeah, I love the fit. Don't think they tag him, though. I would like them to. I think he belongs there. I don't think they tag him. I think eventually he goes somewhere else and ends up disappointing, possibly the Giants or something like that. So I don't love what's going to happen with Corey Davis. Yeah, Eagles are another one.
Washington, the whole NFC East, essentially.
Anyone goes to the NFC East, they're bound to tank. But yeah, no, I just don't see them tagging Corey Davis. I just think that there's still some kind of sense of pride around the tag that you want it to be one of the top of the position, and Corey Davis just isn't that type of player. Like you see people running up with their tags, and you see Kenny Gallaudet, you see Allen Robinson, you get a little embarrassed bringing up your ticket for Corey Davis, right? I just don't think they do it. So.
All right. What about Juju? If does anybody think that Juju will get tagged? Actually,
I definitely don't think so. Yeah.
No.
All right, T.Y. Hilton,
No.
Curtis Samuel, Antonio Brown, Nelson Aguilar. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and move on to tight ends because I think tight ends is a lot more interesting with the 3 that we have. We've got Hunter Henry, we've got Robert Tonyan, we've got Johnny Smith. Like this is something that makes it a little bit more difficult, right? Like they already tagged Hunter Henry. He might make I think it's $12 million. If he gets tagged this year, Tonyan, this will be his first year. I think it's tagged around $10 million or so. Same thing with Johnny Smith. So we'll start out with Mike down below. do you see any one of these players getting tagged, or do you think they could actually have a better, future with somebody else if they don't get tagged? What's your viewpoint?
I mean, that's tough. I think, I hate it when I usually don't like it when teams change. So like if they're, especially someone like Hunter Henry, you have Justin Herbert there, a really good quarterback, and they have a new offense, and we don't have to watch an Anthony Lynn led drive in Chargers uniform ever again. So I'm thankful for that. So like I'm always hesitant to like be like, oh yeah, they're gonna go to new teams and be really good, especially at like positions like wide receiver where it takes time to transition, at positions like tight end where it takes even more time to learn and transition. So I have a hard time believing that any of these guys will really go anywhere and be better, to be honest. So like I kind of just like, I think they'll stay, but I don't think they will tag Hunter Henry. So he's going to go somewhere and, maybe go somewhere really good, maybe gets paid a lot, and maybe everyone falls for the same like Austin Hooper trap. Although I think Hunter Henry is actually a lot better than Austin Hooper. Whenever teams like these guys like that change, I'm usually not the first one to jump on board.
Well, with Austin Hooper, it was more of a play of the play calling and the positional values, because of the fact that they normally use 2 tight end sets, run the ball a lot with Stefanski. But sitting there looking at it, I don't like Hunter Henry either, and I think that him changing scenes is not bad for him, just because of the fact that he did anyway. So I think maybe a 2 tight end set might actually give more fantasy points overall. It's somebody that I'm not investing in. So I agree with that aspect. We'll go with Gabby.
Yeah, I don't see them tagging Henry, to be honest. I think that he ends up not with the Chargers next year. And like you guys were saying before about the whole switching teams thing, I mean, obviously it's always hard to know if switching teams is going to be better for somebody or not. I mean, I think that the Chargers are definitely an up-and-coming contender, but I don't see them tagging him, and I think that he goes somewhere else, and maybe he does end up being better and can prosper with a change of scenery and a change of environment somewhere else. But in terms of, I don't see them placing a tag on him though.
Mike or Dyson, what you got?
Yeah, I don't think they tag him. I'd like to see him go to a team that obviously needs a tight end, like Miami Dolphins, for example, would be a good fit for him because they're trash at the position. No, I realistically, again, when I'm looking at teams for Hunter Henry, and you guys are making me sad because I literally just picked him up in the Pigs 3 dispersal draft. I didn't have any other options, so I'm already sad. Really, where could he go that's better than the Chargers? We talked about it earlier. The Colts would be the one team that I could see his value potentially increasing. Other than that, I know Belichick's got a thing for him, unfortunately. They don't have anyone that can actually throw the football. So maybe Mac Jones to Hunter Henry next year is a possibility. But overall, I don't see a spot other than the Indianapolis Colts where his value doesn't drop off a little bit, at least in the first year of the contract. This is just not a good situation for Henry. There's not really a great spot sticking out. I just think he picked the wrong year to be a free agent. And if he could find a way to make it back home to Daddy Justin Herbert, he'd just be better off doing that.
Is Johnny Smith the best tight end in this class? Or for the tagged people like Robert Tonyan? We'll start with Mike. Like, is it some where you see Tonyan's best, or maybe there's a surprise?
Yeah, look, I think when you get into this group of tight ends, trying to figure out who's the best, it's kind of like trying to figure out like who's got the best leftovers. Like I'm not really interested in playing in tight ends in this range. Like I'm the one that like usually pays up a bit for a tight end in Dynasty. Last year I would pay up for Waller because I thought he was a top end player. I would grab like a Kelsey, and I would grab a George Kittle, and I would pair him for someone like really younger. So like in Noah Fant, T.J. Hawkins' rookie year, I would like draft George Kittle, and then I would get something younger, and then once that younger guy proves out, I'll trade like the George Kittle for something else. I feel like that's like the best way to attach it. Like this middle zone of like tight ends is something that I don't spend much time studying because I don't think it's worth it for me. It's just not a zone that I like play in too often.
Yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the stats with Johnny Smith. It makes me a little bit nervous because I thought it was Taylor Lewin going down that actually hindered the production, because all of a sudden we saw this target drop off and everything like that. The more that I looked into it, the more that I saw the stats, and I a little bit of game film, just a little bit. You know, normally don't do that, but I watched a little bit of it. It turns out there was AJ Brown that actually, coming back that hindered his production moving forward. It's about weeks 1 through 5 where he was tight end 2 or 3. After that, AJ Brown came back, became a major part of that, and it was, it's an absolute nightmare for Johnny Smith. So, it's a little bit tough trying to judge where these middle round tight ends can go. And I was wrong in Hayden Hurst, in previous years, right on Austin Hooper, but it's really tough to sit there and judge. And I don't think there's any indication as you can find the right person. Do any of y'all feel different about trying to find that person in the middle rounds, like trying to find the right tight end, or pretty much a crapshoot at that point?
I feel like this is just an interesting year in terms of the tight end position as it is, especially because of the fact that there are still a lot of teams who don't have their quarterback situation even figured out yet too. And so that kind of makes a difference when it comes to this too, because if your team doesn't know who your quarterback is going to be, how do you know that a certain tight end is going to fit in well with your offensive scheme? So I feel like it's kind of a hard year just with all of the unknowns that come with this offseason in particular to really gauge where some of these tight ends would even be able to go and be a good fit.
Yeah, I'm just happy I don't play in leagues with Mike because we'd be fighting. My longest dynasty team, I have Travis Kelce, Irv Smith, and Cole Kmet, and literally I'm looking at my tight ends just drooling, doing the exact same thing. Once Kmet or Smith proves to be a tight end 1, Kelsey's going for that next running back or wide receiver that I need, and that's, I think, the perfect strategy. And if you look at it, and Chase, I know you saw them when I put out my tight end rankings, I literally did that. Like I ranked out my top 10, and people were losing their mind that I didn't have Logan Thomas and Robert Tonyan in my top 20 because I'm looking at it very simply. I'm trying to get one of my top 5 or 6, and then I'm looking for that athleticism. So I don't want a Tonyan or anybody on my bench over like even an Albert O. Like, I mean, this is the second coming of Vernon Davis, and I want a piece of that action. I don't care that Noah Fant's above him right now. So what I don't want is a guy who I know is going to be 500 or 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. It's just, who cares? Dime a dozen, find one on the waiver wire. So when I look at tight ends, I'm looking for either stud or rocket ship. I'm not looking for that Toyota Camry of tight ends. I'm just not interested. And that's what these guys
are. Hold up, man. Whoa. No need to bring Toyota Camrys into this whole debate, okay? My family we are stout Toyota Camry truthers. I when we first immigrated here, we got I think my dad got like a Toyota Corolla, drove that shit for like 10 years, beat it into oblivion. It never broke down. Then we got a 2000 Camry, okay, 2000 Camry. When they first had those sliding, I don't know, age myself here, but the sliding sunroofs, I thought that was like the dopest shit ever.
Yeah,
we had automatic. Automatic windows. I mean, people think that's the norm now. Back in the day, I had to freaking roll my windows down.
You're still a kid.
Okay, so I don't want to hear any disrespect for Toyota Camry. That was the first car I ever drove and used in college. We drove that shit for 20 years. And it withstood the test of time, let me tell you. So I don't want to hear any disrespect on Toyota Camrys on this channel tonight.
No disrespect, Mike. I had a 99 Camry post-factory tint that I pimped out like a champion. I mean, granted, the tint was rolling off a little bit, and I eventually could pull it off with my fingers.
I'll put the bass in there.
But yeah, I had a Kenwood speakers in there. That thing pumped. No doubt about it. Now,
we pumped while waiting in line to go to class.
Now, I will tell you, as much as I loved my Camry, I would have traded it for an Audi or a BMW had someone come up to me and offered it straight up a deal.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's go ahead and get out of here, guys. Oh, man, we're going to start with Daddy's Home because he came on the latest. What's going on, man? Where can we find you?
You know where to find me at Daddy's Home FF. I spend way too much time on Twitter, trying to screw with people's heads. Lately today, as you know, Chase, I took a shot at you comparing Kadarius Toney to Dogecoin, something that people are trying to convince you is real and it's not. So that's been my latest off-season thing.
It's a great comparison. That's a very fitting comparison for.
Dude, don't.
Good,
I swear to God, let's go. Let's go to film. Let's go.
I'm just working on comps now, buddy, and that felt like a good one. It's not a real thing, but people on Twitter are trying to convince you it is. So good luck, and eventually it'll drop like a stone. So that's pretty much all I do. I sit on Twitter and I make jokes. Some people take it serious and tell me to F myself. I laugh at them, and then I have a couple drinks. So that's where you can find me every day.
Love it, man.
Sounds like a fun life.
It's pretty solid, Gabby. I'm not going to lie. It's about all I got.
Gabby, what's going on? Where can we find you?
Yeah, I am on all forms of social media as well, at Gabby Hurlbut 10 on Twitter and at Gabby_Hurlbut 10 on Instagram. And my podcast, Boston Balling, also has its own social media accounts too that are linked to my personal accounts. So would definitely appreciate people checking that out too. It's a fun show. I have a lot of fun with it. I drop a new episode every Tuesday. So yeah, that's me pretty much everywhere. So you can find me there.
And Mike, we kept you way too long, man. I apologize. You were so nice. So we had somebody bail last minute, right? Literally 2:00. They're like, hey, we were supposed to be on, but we can't make it. And all of a sudden you popped up and you're like, hey, I'm going to come on. I'm going to cross this shit. How long is it going to be? I was like an hour. And we kept you on for about 20% longer than it was supposed to be. Appreciate you for coming on.
All good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you can find me at Mike Me Up with 2 P's on Twitter. I'm on there just like Daddy's Home. I'm out there poking the bear, trolling PFF, doing my thing. I just like having a good time. So you can find me on there. And if you comment on my stuff, I'll probably try and respond to you. If you have questions about fantasy, DM me there. And then on YouTube, you can find me at Bunk Bed Breakdowns and BDGE. So that's where most of my video content is. And then later on this week, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know where my Patreon is as well.
Dude, I love it, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure with everything you've done for us and everything you've done for the fantasy community as a whole. So we look forward to having you on again. But yeah, y'all can find us at Join Our Circle _. You guys can find me at FF_intervention. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining, and thank you guys for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life.